Welcome back to Seriously. Counterpart is a sci-fi spy thriller about parallel worlds, secret organizations, and the people caught in between. Stick around for all the twists, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single mind-bending moment. Let's get into it. A man crashes through a window into the street. Police rush in, but their target is gone, leaving strange currency from the other side. They're hunting someone named Baldwin, not realizing Baldwin is a woman. She silently takes out two officers and escapes with her bag and passports. Meanwhile, we meet Howard Silk, a mild-mannered guy who plays go with his friend Andre before heading to his dull job at the United Nations. At work, he and others exchange sealed briefcases through booths, reading cryptic messages they barely understand. Howard wants a promotion, but his boss Peter Quayle says he's too soft and keeps him stuck where he is. At home, things are worse. Howard's wife Emily is in the hospital with severe head injuries. Her brother Eric brings paperwork about long-term care. It feels like Howard's life is already falling apart. The next day, security escorts Howard to meet Aldrich, the operations director. Suddenly, a hooded man is brought in. The hood comes off, and it's Howard, but rougher, a doppelganger from another world. Quayle explains a secret crossing opened during the Cold War, creating two parallel worlds. The other Howard warns them about Baldwin, a deadly assassin. Worse, her kill list includes Emily. That night, an agent named Marcel is murdered, proving the threat is real. To protect Emily, the tougher Howard takes Howard's place at the hospital. Things get tense when Eric shows up and Baldwin sneaks in. A small mistake tips her off, and gunfire erupts. Counterpart Howard meets counterpart Emily at their agency. She warns him there's a rendition order in his name, and two men wait to grab him unless he explains why he keeps crossing to the Prime World. He refuses. Outside, he slips in earplugs, disarms the escorts in the car, and takes them out. Back home, Rash brings partial intel on Baldwin and says Alexander Pope wants a meeting. Pope talks about the rendition. Then, Howard secures a new 36-hour pass to cross. Meanwhile, Emily is summoned by Bob Dwyer, the strategy boss, who says no rendition came from Midnight Station. She's confused and furious. Over on the regular world, Howard meets Peter and Aldrich and sets terms. The other Howard must be included, or no deal. So, the mild Howard is pulled back in. They tail Baldwin's double, Nadia, a violinist. They discuss where the timeline split and how both pairs share a past. Baldwin hides, stitches herself up, and gets advice from Clare to kill her double. Howard chats up Nadia at a bar as part of the plan. Clues lead Aldrich and Howard to the women's childhood home. At the bar, police move in, but Baldwin ambushes them and drags Nadia away. Howard follows. They reach a theater. Howard rushes inside, and Nadia and Baldwin face each other. Gunfire erupts, and an operative shoots Nadia. Baldwin surrenders. On the other side, Emily meets Pope, pushing for peace, but he wants payback. Emily is hit by a car. Howard rushes her to the hospital and fills the doctors in on her history. Now he visits every day with flowers, guarded at the door, sitting by her bed and talking about how the whole world has changed while she's in a coma. Over in the Prime world, the other Emily watches a movie while meeting a secret contact about the hit on Howard. She learns about the assassin Baldwin and decides to cross over to clear her name. Baldwin is in German custody. Roland Fancher calls his son-in-law Peter Quayle, who storms in on both Howard's and Aldrich to clean up the mess. Counterpart Howard demands the mild Howard get higher security clearance. Howard and Aldrich visit Baldwin. She only agrees to talk to Howard. He says stopping her was right because her double, Nadia, was innocent. Baldwin hints that their lives always lead to the same place. The other Emily sneaks onto Ian Shaw's team to cross over. She gets a short visa and strict limits. Then she and Ian question Howard at Claude Lambert's place. Alone, Emily tells Howard that Alexander Pope ordered the hit on him. Fancher and Lambert have a tense dinner about secret ops, disease research, and avoiding war between worlds. Deals get traded for knowledge. During Baldwin's transfer, masked attackers strike. Aldrich hands Baldwin over. One attacker is Clare, her handler. Back home, the Howards and Peter regroup. Counterpart Howard suspects Lambert and suggests sending mild Howard to the other side. Later, Emily visits St. Christopher's and finds a hidden letter from herself saying nothing is what it seems. That night, someone drugs her, steals the note, and leaves her on the floor. Counterpart Howard stays in the first world while the real Howard prepares to cross. They set up a message chain so the counterpart can pass orders back without papers. He slips a note to a man who falls, and it travels person to person until it reaches Rash, who grabs a gun and heads out. Before leaving, the real Howard tries to explain his routine to his double. Go nights with Andre, coffee spots, habits, but the Howard isn't impressed. With hours left, they play cards and talk life. They couldn't be more different. Meanwhile, Claire hides Baldwin in a safe place. Baldwin says she told police nothing. Claire hints she works for a bigger group and will check next steps, making it clear this runs deeper. At the UN, Peter warns the real Howard about germs and says if he's caught, no one will help him. He crosses over and notices posters and sanitizer stations. He's taken to an apartment, but Rosh locks him inside instead of guarding him. Later on, Rosh returns with groceries, and Anna, Howard's daughter in this world, shows up, saying her mom Emily is in the hospital. It hits hard. Back at the UN, the counterpart starts a payroll job, then takes a personal day. He meets Heinrich, a friend, and learns Alexander Pope has been moving illegals between worlds with help. Over on the other side, Howard visits Emily with Anna and meets Ian, her partner. It's awkward, and Emily's condition looks shaky. At the border, a man named Spencer crosses over for maintenance. He rides with a woman and another guy to a grimy building, where mysterious deliveries wait. They're the no loose ends type. Meanwhile, counterpart Howard pretends to be the regular Howard. He plays go with Andre and even throws a bad move to avoid suspicion. Later, he visits the comatose Emily, repeating the daily routine, creating a tense, quiet moment. Elsewhere, Claire questions Heinrich, Howard's friend, about the other Silk's visit. She hints at a secret group called the School run by Alexander Pope. Heinrich knows he's in danger. On the other side, Howard searches for his daughter and runs into Pope, who instantly clocks he's not the right Howard. Pope warns him not to trust the other Emily. Howard grows uneasy. Back at the UN, Peter grows paranoid and has Aldrich sweep his office. They suspect a long-term mole funding Baldwin. Trust is thin. Howard meets the other Emily. She says she works counterintelligence and claims Pope caused her overdose. She also believes the embassy is compromised. Howard just wants to help both Emilys. Baldwin rebuilds her weapons, clearly unstable. Aldrich and Peter visit Alice, a defector. She explains the Prime World's harsh conditions and hints at a secret project called Indigo tied to Pope. She suggests the mole's codename is Shadow. Howard sneaks into Andre's place and finds cash, a gun, and files. Andre confesses he was with Emily before her accident. The stash belongs to Emily for now. Angel Eyes hides out with his crew, Mr. Glasses and the ringleader, in a rough part of town. The ringleader hates that Angel sneaks out to explore. He comes back saying the city is filthy and people deserve to die. Whatever they're planning, it feels big and ugly. Meanwhile, Ian Shaw deals with a custom screw-up when a banned Prince album almost crosses worlds. He's furious about corruption. Then he hears that Prime Emily and Howard are doing their own digging, which only adds to his stress. Back at the UN, Peter struggles to cover for Howard missing work. Howard realizes Emily was chasing stolen internal files, and now everyone's focused on the mole. Ian meets Howard at a cafe. It's tense. Ian grills him about hanging around Emily. At home, Emily and Anna talk about Howard acting strange. From afar, Baldwin watches her double Nadia's funeral. Hearing someone call Nadia her first love hits hard. Later, Baldwin confronts Claire, who tries to apologize. Baldwin just wants her money. At the UN, Ian tests Howard with Casper, a tech guy. Casper secretly tells Ian that Howard's answers look perfect. Aldrich starts digging into a suspicious death tied to old leadership. Emily asks her boss Bob Dwyer for time off. She then storms in to pull Howard out of Ian's interrogation. Turns out Casper is the mole. He sends a coded warning to Alexander Pope. Baldwin befriends Greta, trying to live a normal life. Howard rushes to Heinrich's butcher shop and finds him murdered. Cash is hidden for Heinrich's wife. Howard suspects the mole leaked info through Peter. Meanwhile, Howard, Ian, and Emily sneak to a house where men burn documents. Aldrich starts wondering if Peter or even Claire could be involved. In 1997, on the other side, a young girl named Claire loses her parents to the flu and is sent to an orphanage. She meets a boy named Spencer. This place is secretly Indigo, a brutal training program. They force Claire into cruel tests, even breaking her legs while she stays awake. She's shown photos of memories she can't recall and told the Prime World caused the epidemic. It's a lie meant to turn her into a weapon. Meanwhile, in the present, Peter suspects something is wrong at home. On his birthday, he sends his wife out for cigars and invites Howard Prime to check the apartment. Howard finds cyanide pills in the cabinet. Peter is shaken and guilty, realizing his wife may be the mole stealing UN files through him. Back to Claire's past, Indigo trains her to copy her double perfectly. She learns her double is marrying a man in strategy. Indigo sees a chance. Claire meets Alexander Pope, who places her on a fake diplomatic team to cross over. She also meets Ambassador Claude Lambert, their fixer. Claire studies her double's life and habits. When the wedding is called off, Indigo orders her to fix it. She takes over the identity, killing her double during a staged break-in. Her handlers remove teeth and fingers, and she returns home claiming she was attacked. At Peter's birthday party, he tests her memories. Later, he confronts her in the bathroom and demands she take the cyanide. Claire says it's expired and admits she's fallen in love after years living the lie. Pope calls the dry cleaners, and the shaken man rushes to Meera, the Indigo boss. They burn files and quietly move the orphan kids out. Outside, Emily Prime, Ian, Howard, and the UN team see the fires. Inside, Meera hands out cyanide pills. A shootout erupts. People die, but Meera and one partner escape. After the chaos, Howard and Ian are wrecked. Emily shows Ian a timeline linking both worlds and realizes Indigo ran a school training kids. Most evidence is gone. Howard finds the children dead from poison under a blanket. Back home, Howard Prime gets good news. His Emily wakes up. At the ruins, Ian wants to go official, but Emily says Pope is involved, so they stay quiet. They find recon photos, fake visas, and proof Indigo trained sleeper agents to replace their doubles. Peter and his wife Claire are falling apart. He watches the baby while she's cuffed. Claire admits when she switched places. The baby is their only bond. Baldwin hunts. She strangles Angel Eyes' other self and steals his info. Aldrich visits Peter with soup and shares a story about killing the woman his double loved to protect the cause. He warns Peter to choose right. Emily and Howard plan to contact Howard Prime through a rash and need Peter to get an interface room. Howard Prime meets the real Howard. They clash. Prime lies about Emily's condition and reveals her affair. Later, Peter meets Aldrich and lies, blaming Howard as the mole. It's a brutal move. And 7 weeks earlier, Howard waits at the hospital while Emily Emily is rushed into the ER. He meets Andre, and the moment feels heavy now that the betrayals are clear. Howard Prime gets a warning call from Peter, who has secretly sold him out. Aldrich is coming, so Prime bolts. Meanwhile, Ian tracks down Alexander Pope to ask about Casper. The talk goes bad. Pope drops a bomb, saying Howard is the real one, not Prime, and that rattles Ian. Baldwin finishes wiping out the Indigo doubles and hesitates about stepping into their lives. Still, the trio, Angel Eyes, the ringleader, and Glasses, start blending into their counterparts' routines. Baldwin tries to reach Clare, but Clare is cuffed and can't grab her burner phone. Later on, Casper senses danger on his way to meet Ian and Emily. A man attacks him in the subway, but they save him. At Peter's place, Prime suggests talking to Clare, and Peter pulls a gun. It's a bad move. On the other side, Howard hears Casper's story. Pope promised him a look at his dead son's double if he helped. Casper also reveals Emily's crash was staged by Pope. Back at home, Clare finally reaches Baldwin and orders a hit on Howard. She also hints the Indigo trio is inside the UN. Peter and Clare share a brutal, honest moment. Prime walks into the UN and is detained. At the same time, the Indigo team opens fire. Chaos erupts. Prime escapes, grabs a gun, and fights back. Angel Eyes limps toward the border. The UN massacre in Berlin ends with chaos, many dead and injured. Howard Prime slips away, illegally on this side, while Angel Eyes reaches the border between worlds, where the UN can't touch him without orders. Bureaucracy delays action. Roland Fancher downplays the massacre as workplace violence. Peter wakes after his crash, relieved Clare is safe, but she warns this is only the beginning. On the other side, Emily Prime meets with OI director Bob Dwyer and Ian to take responsibility for the Alpha World violence. Back in the original world, Aldrich and his man Cyrus handle OI cleanup, discovering the Alpha version of Angel Eyes dead at Baldwin's hand. Roland talks to Peter about the chaos, while Prime management in the other world meets through a secure line. Emily Prime warns that one shooter is in neutral territory, risking war. Peter suggests letting the other side act first, while Emily recommends admitting a rogue faction caused it. Meanwhile, Angel Eyes bleeds out at the border. Baldwin faces Greta's questions about her identity as Nadia, revealing her guns and dual life. At home, Clare and her mother discuss marital issues. Unaware, Cyrus watches. Howard Prime calls Aldrich to protect Emily, but learns the crossing is closed, leaving her vulnerable. Original Howard meets Pope in the other side, wrestling with being trapped between worlds. Pope wants him as a double agent, revealing correspondence between Howard Prime and Emily. Howard resists, but ends up acting decisively, knocking Pope out. Hold up, if this is already making your head spin with all the Howards, Emilys, and spy double crosses, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the deep dives when we break down even crazier twists. Trust me, the next theories are going to blow your mind. At the hospital, Baldwin tries to kill Emily, but Howard Prime stops her, then takes out Aldrich. Peter returns home to Clare cleaning up after killing Cyrus. Later, Prime and Peter meet at a bar, agreeing to a truce. Howard Prime reads to Emily as she wakes, stepping fully into the role of the husband she knows, blending identity and necessity in a tragic, haunting moment. Naya, a former FBI counterintelligence agent, is being evaluated for a role at the UN's Office of Interchange. She's briefed on the 30 years since the crossing was discovered in Berlin and shown the violent reality of counterparts meeting. She's recruited to hunt a very special spy, possibly Howard from the Prime world. Meanwhile, Clare tracks down two women Aldrich helped in the woods. She kills them and then eliminates the assassins with her, making sure no loose ends remain. Claude Lambert casually avoids Peter Quayle and OI soldiers while plotting his own agenda. At the UN, Roland Fancher tries to maintain order, as trust is fractured after Indigo's attack. Quayle now has Temple as a partner in rooting out sleeper agents. The two Howards continue navigating each other's worlds, with the crossing now heavily restricted. Temple settles into the office while Howard Prime deals with Emily, who struggles to recover memories and function normally. She feels stuck between her alpha self, her prime self, and the version of her before the accident. Back at home, Howard Prime spots a suspicious man outside Emily's apartment, but he disappears. At the OI, Quayle observes Temple praying, noticing her Muslim faith and reflecting on parallels between their work and real-world immigration issues. Later, Quayle and Temple check the holding cells, finding Edgar has attempted suicide. Clare lies to Quayle about Indigo's involvement, but he secretly records a confession of his complicity with her, worried about what could happen next. Finally, Howard Prime finds Clare in his home and escorts her out, confirming a tense understanding between them. With Emily recovering, Temple watching the office, and Quayle's secrets, the stage is set for high-stakes moves across both worlds. In the Prime world, not everyone from Indigo is comfortable with their actions. Aldous is having doubts but stays close to Meera, who keeps him loyal by any means necessary. Meanwhile, Howard Prime operates on the Alpha side while Howard Alpha is detained in the Prime world. Osmond interrogates him about his wife Emily, and he learns she's come out of her coma, a cruel moment he can't witness. At the UN, head of diplomacy, Irina manages the fallout from the crossing attack. Ambassador Sai feels trapped in the Prime world, and Emily Prime sympathizes, noting how bureaucracy and mistrust prevent both sides from acting effectively. Meera visits an old acquaintance, showing no remorse for her past, determined to rebuild her agenda despite the carnage. At home, Emily Prime finds her daughter Anna making a meal while wrestling with her father's disappearance and a cheating partner. Suddenly, the crossing opens briefly before shutting again. Emily is summoned by management on an unfinished floor and offered the role of director of strategy. She learns the UN will reopen the crossing only if Meera is found and terminated, and she refuses to participate until Howard Alpha is released. Ian Shaw investigates an apartment, finding bloody dog prints and a dead body, evidence of indigo cleaning loose ends. Emily traces Meera's history back to the 1997 epidemic, meeting a couple whose son may be an indigo agent. Aldous gets a call from his father, unaware Emily is tracking him. A confrontation ends with Aldous jumping to his death, leaving clues pointing to Emily Alpha having been in the Prime world. Back in interrogation, Howard Alpha refuses to cooperate and is slated for transfer to Ekko, while Osman coordinates with Meera, hinting at further danger. Baldwin watches Greta from afar, but before she can act, she's drugged and kidnapped from the streets. It's unclear who's behind it, Indigo or the OI, but danger is close. Meanwhile, Ambassador Lambert and his Prime counterpart have a twisted dynamic, showing the bizarre extremes of having a double in another world. Howard Alpha is prepped for transfer to Ekko, a secretive facility. Osman gives him pills and insists he cooperate, but Howard refuses, insisting he's not a spy. He's transported in a blacked-out truck, facing more tests and scans at the facility, where he meets Peter Prime and Warden Yannick, who aim to exploit Doubles' memories. On the Alpha side, Howard Prime continues helping Emily with her memory recovery. He quietly works with Remy to track Lambert, knowing Baldwin is involved and wants his help too. Meanwhile, Peter watches his spy wife, Clare, who activates an old contact on a train, showing just how tangled personal and professional loyalties have become. Emily Prime investigates her counterpart's movements across the crossing. She traces clues about Meera and the 1997 epidemic, speaking with a hesitant couple whose son might be an indigo agent. Later, she uncovers files pointing to a secret stash of information, suggesting her other self was gathering intelligence. Peter leads a mission from his wife's intel, but walks into a sniper ambush meant for Clare, revealing their tentative teamwork. Howard Prime intervenes to mediate with Lambert. Back at Ekko, Howard Alpha is assaulted by men angry at his double, leaving him bloodied and shaken. The facility's dangers grow while Emily and Ian continue unraveling the mysteries of Indigo and the dangerous interplay between the worlds. Tensions spike as identities, loyalties, and secrets collide across both sides, leaving everyone on edge. Meera arrives at an abandoned-looking facility with electrified fences, clearly planning something, though it's impossible to tell what. A guard spots her, raising questions about her next move after the Indigo attack. Back in 1984, young Emily spends a weekend with her mother, who gives her advice about lying just enough to get by. Decades later, Emily Prime drives to that same woods, visiting the cabin where she and her mother stayed. The owner, Fong, remembers her as Belinda, the name she invented with her mom. Meanwhile, Howard Prime continues helping Emily recover her memory, playing the husband she expects while navigating work complications. Claire meets Lambert, attempting a tense negotiation while her husband Peter watches from a distance. They've captured Lambert and tied up Baldwin for a planned handoff, but it's unclear where Lambert Prime is. Baldwin frees herself, killing anyone in her way, including Remy, forcing Howard Prime to confront the chaos left behind. At Ekko, Howard Alpha faces brutal isolation and interrogation. He meets Warden Yannick, who wants to study how doubles diverge, but Howard refuses to betray his wife. Quail Prime, mentally unstable, is his only source of human connection. Emily traces her other self's activities, uncovering a stash of files and a hidden signal for a source. She also returns a copy of the Tin Drum, leading to a startling revelation. The original Lambert was actually the source she's been following, while the man killed was his other. Claire discovers her parents were murdered by Meera's group to turn her into an operative, deepening the stakes. Ian finds Moritz dead, the briefcase gone, and Meera's ally Osman holding the management device, signaling bigger plans ahead. Chaos spreads, secrets unravel, and alliances shift as the crossing between worlds grows more dangerous. Howard Prime and Emily navigate these threats at home, while the others close in, setting the stage for even more explosive conflicts. Ian struggles to balance his work and home life, with his wife wanting more of him than he can give. Management isn't happy with his recent actions, and he's forced to confront his other identity, Wesley Pierce, which he took on 10 years ago when he arrived in the Prime world. He must either turn Emily over to management or risk losing everything he's built. Meanwhile, Peter goes to see Lambert, the Prime ambassador, now in a cage, asking if he killed his other. Lambert toys with Peter and Claire, making a deal for $2 million in exchange for information on Indigo agents, including Claire, while Naya interrupts, raising the stakes. Emily also gets involved, making Peter even more nervous as the tension thickens. Meera and her ally Osman prepare a raid on a secretive facility, possibly connected to Ekko. Peter Prime obsesses over footy tapes, trying to map his points of divergence, while Peter in the Alpha world pressures Howard Prime to take out Lambert, a risky plan. Claire reconnects with an old contact ready to destroy anyone who knows too much, showing the toll of spy life on personal ties. At the UN, Howard Prime tries to retrieve a gun under the guise of getting diamonds while Naya and Quayle find Lambert dead in his cage. The building goes on lockdown, alarms blaring, and missing weapons spark further chaos. At Ekko, Warden Yannick pushes Howard Alpha to see the differences between himself and his other, but Howard resists. A riot erupts as Meera's team breaks in, bullets flying. Emily Prime arrives, navigating the chaos to rescue Howard. Meera escapes, leaving questions about her connections, possibly to Yannick. The worlds collide in chaos, with alliances shifting and lives hanging in the balance. Back in 1987, East Berlin, an American named Croft makes a deal with a young Yannick, deliver information, and he can move to the United States with his family. We learn Meera, the future Indigo terrorist, is his daughter, and he has a son named Rainer. The family is split politically, with Meera's brother opposing the government while Yannick works for it, secretly stealing files. One night, while taking pictures of a light source synchrotron, something goes catastrophically wrong. Computers melt, alarms trigger, and the crossing opens. Yannick encounters his other for the first time, and both flee, unknowingly spawning the Prime world. In the following years, the two Yannicks study each other, recording journals and experimenting with control and chaos across worlds. Meera becomes a key part of the experiment, gifted differently by each Yannick, shaping her future ideology. They recruit other doubles, forming the secretive Office of Interchange. Tragedy strikes when Rainer dies during an arrest, leaving Yannick's family fractured while his other enjoys a full life. After the Berlin Wall falls in 1989, the Yannicks expand their operations, constructing the OI offices and exploring the Prime world. Paranoia grows, leading Yannick to experiment with biological weapons and surveillance, fearing one world could destroy the other. Eventually, tensions erupt violently, and Yannick kills his other just as Meera Prime walks in. He flees, leaving chaos behind. The worlds remain divided, the Munchen virus contained, and the Echoes scattered with briefcases to communicate secretly. In the present, Meera confronts her father, seeing the ruins he caused. She believes the destruction opened her eyes to reality and plans to finish what he started, uniting the Echoes, destroying the Prime world, and forcing surrender. Her plan is dark, precise, and deeply personal, with her father as both witness and pawn in her scheme. Management receives Meera's message, debating whether to meet the Indigo terrorist to resolve things once and for all. Meanwhile, stranded Ambassador Sai is allowed back across the crossing to inform Roland Fancher that the other side wants a meeting. 10 years ago, Ian Shaw, also known as Wesley Pierce, loses his wife to a murder tied to her knowledge of secret operations. Declared dead, he assumes a new identity as Ian and is told he belongs entirely to the job. Over the years, he becomes distant and cold, but in the present, he's in contact with Emily Prime while still serving management's interests. At the Office of Interchange, Peter Quayle is questioned about Shadow's supposed death. At home, he explains the fallout to his wife Clare, realizing just how much her manipulations have affected his life. Clare stands her ground, defending both herself and him. Naya privately prays in her office, showing a personal side amidst the chaos. She later speaks with Howard Prime about sleeper agents and Peter, reflecting on how the two worlds operate and the two truths she sees in him. Back at Ekko, the original Howard reunites with Emily Prime. They piece together Meera's involvement and the extent of Osmond's manipulation, while Emily digs through Yannick's files looking for answers. Naya has Emily identify the dead secretary as Shadow, though her memory is fuzzy. Meanwhile, Claire meets with Spencer and other sleeper cell members she trained at Indigo. Howard Prime escorts Emily under security, but Ian arrives with armed men, prompting a firefight. Emily is grazed but escapes with Howard, who's wounded. Howard slips away to find Claire, only to discover the Quayles have gone to the old Indigo Academy, leaving him with more questions than answers. Baldwin remembers watching Nadia die and feels the weight of guilt. She visits her other's grave only to be confronted by Spencer, who wants to hire her. He needs Emily dead because she's recalling dangerous secrets, but Baldwin refuses, torn between her past as a hit woman and the desire to break free from Indigo forever. Meanwhile, Howard is bleeding from a gunshot and Emily Prime drags him to safety, calling her daughter Anna for help. Anna thinks she's treating her father and sings a song that resonates with Howard from his own childhood, showing how the lives of others from both worlds intersect and diverge. At the old Indigo Academy, Claire guides Peter through the place where sleeper agents were trained, revisiting the indoctrination that shaped her life. Peter finds recordings about Claire's parents, revealing just how much Indigo manipulated children. He wants to forge a new path for his family. Howard Prime searches the Quayle house, realizing they've fled, and struggles with Emily in the apartment while playing the part of her husband. She recalls hidden places from her past, including stashed weapons, and Anna reveals memories confirming Emily visited the Prime world years ago. The two Howards navigate strange, overlapping realities, learning about themselves and their others. Back at Ekko, Howard and Emily Prime revisit moments from the night of her supposed accident, connecting their experiences to the lives of their others. They begin decoding Emily's notes in Rilke's book, leading to an address and personal revelations. Baldwin warns Howard Prime that Indigo is coming for Emily. He fights soldiers, revealing his lethal skill, prompting Emily to reject him. In the academy basement, Clare and Peter find remnants of Indigo experiments, including preparations for a flu virus. Meera plans to release it on the Alpha world as revenge, forcing Peter to reveal Clare as Shadow to Naya. Indigo gears up for their next big attack. The sleeper cell Clare spotted is getting immunized, except for young Ethel, who's being recruited for a special role. Meanwhile, Meera and her father Yannick plan to meet management, supposedly to surrender, using their cunning to manipulate everyone. Ian has Emily Prime and the wounded Howard in his custody, bringing them to his side's Office of Interchange. Across the Alpha world, Howard Prime visits Baldwin for breakfast, trying to convince her to help stop Indigo. Baldwin has turned her back on killing but can't fully escape her past. Naya gets the full story from Clare, pressing her until she reveals everything, including meetings with Spencer and plans for the flu virus. Peter discovers his daughter's name comes from Clare's former lover, while Naya gives insight into her own family life, sharing the struggles of her son and a poem called Welcome to Holland. Ian reports on Emily Prime to management and is sent to bring her in. Emily meets her other, revealing her role in radicalizing Indigo by allowing the flu virus project to continue. It's tense, with Emily Prime confronting the invasion of her life by her counterpart. Howard waits, soon to be sent back across the crossing, saying goodbye to the Emily he's grown close to. Ian tracks down Meera and Yannick, separating them for transport. Meera manipulates Ian, threatening Nomi's life, but he ultimately saves the woman he loves, letting Meera join her father. She murders management in front of Yannick and seizes their equipment, setting both sides up and broadcasting an urgent message. Baldwin and Howard Prime rescue Clare from Spencer, leaving chaos looming as Meera ignites a crisis across the crossing. Yannick is left to face the fallout of his daughter Meera's actions. He visits the other Meera, who's shocked, but embraces him in an emotional reunion. Meanwhile, Meera Prime uses management's devices to set her plan in motion, sending a statement via Roland Fancher that the crossing will be closed permanently. Emily Prime discovers Meera is free and Ian is missing, escorting the terrorists to save Nomi. Howard talks to the OI about his illegal crossing to the Prime world, explaining he only acted to protect Emily. He's released, but life isn't simple. He and Emily can't just return to normal. Howard Prime has gathered Clare, Spencer, and Baldwin to interrogate Clare about the Indigo sleeper cell. She finally reveals the plot, breaking through her loyalty to Meera, while Peter learns the origin of his daughter's name and reflects on his wife's past. Howard and Emily reconnect at home, confronting distrust and past lies. Howard Prime warns them about Meera's cabin and the virus she plans to unleash on the Alpha world. The team, including Naya, heads to the cabin, where Clare's former student Ethel detonates explosives. Emily is critically injured and dies in the hospital, leaving a final note for Howard. Howard confronts his other, who admits partial responsibility. Howard spares him, giving him Emily's note. Indigo sleeper agents are neutralized by Howard Prime, leaving only Meera alive. Clare and Peter return to a quieter life, while Naya embraces her dual faith. Emily Prime tracks Ian, finding only a note revealing his past as Wesley and a tracker on Meera. Meera dies from a lethal dose given by Emily, and Yannick collapses from the virus she infected him with, leaving a chilling question about the outbreak. And that's it for Counterpart. Meera's finally dead, the crossing is closed, Howard Prime cleaned up the sleeper agents, and Peter and Clare are attempting a normal life, while Yannick isn't around to enjoy the park anymore. Emily's note lives on, but Starz decided to cancel the series, so there's no season 3. Now, all we can do is imagine what could have happened next, and maybe reread all the convoluted timelines for fun. See you in the next recap.